Welcome back to the channel. My name is Alejandro Mendoza, or the Nerd Chicano. Either way, how you say it, it's all good here. And of course, we're back for another video here on the channel, and I'm going to be doing something a little different because it's not a collection update, it's not an unboxing, it's not a Between the Frames episode. Today, I'm bringing to you my top 10 from the Sundance Film Festival this year. I had the wonderful opportunity to cover Sundance Film Festival for my outlet that I created, and you all hopefully are watching and listening to all the stuff that we do there, and you read all the stuff that we put out from the Nerdcore. And I was able to, get press accreditation for that, and I was able to watch the Sundance Film Festival virtually. I watched a total of 39 movies, I think, or I believe it was 39. I was able to watch 39 movies, and a lot of them features, docs, and short films. But today, I'm going to bring you my top 10 movies I watched at Sundance. I was really happy that I was able to actually go to Sundance virtually and be able to do this for the Nerdcore, and it also, was a really good opportunity to be able to gain this experience, and I'm always going to be thankful to the Sundance Institute for giving me the shot this year. And I watched a lot of movies, and there were a lot of really good movies, and there were some not so great, but either way, there was a good time spent watching a lot of cinema at this festival. These are the 10 movies that stood out to me at the festival that I can say are the best of the best. Only in my opinion, though. And if you guys did go to Sundance and you watched some films, or you're, part of the press as well, put in the comments. Tell me what your 10 favorite movies were from Sundance. Are there any movies that you are hearing about from Sundance that you may want to check out? Of course, there's a lot of stuff that was picked up and a lot of stuff that was, bought and is going to get a release date soon. So let me know. Sound off in the comments and tell me what's up and what you're looking forward to from Sundance. So let's get this started. At number 10, we have a documentary directed by Alan Schwartz. It's called Tantura, and it's about the Tantura region in Palestine, which was a area where there was a lot of warfare being done and displacement of Palestinians when the creation of the state of Israel was happening. And the documentary is fantastic. I mean, the way it just examines both sides of the story. You have interviews with Israeli citizens, and you also have interviews with Palestinians who are also living in Tantura, and you kind of get both sides. You also have interviews with those who served in the IDF during the time. It's escaping me. It's not the IDF. It's escaping me what the name of the regime was at the time. But you have interviews with them, and we're really critically analyzing the Tantura. We're analyzing the extent of, what people thought about the genocide that happened at Tantura, and the documentary is well paced and just incredibly done, and I really found this one to be very informative, and it's one of my favorite documentaries from Sundance Film Festival. My number 9 is a film called The Territory. It's another documentary. It's directed by Alex Pritz, and it's looking at the indigenous tribes that are being persecuted in the Amazon rainforest area in Brazil. We're looking at these indigenous peoples and how specifically deforestation and climate change is really affecting them, but specifically the deforestation that's being done by outsiders and neo-colonizers. The documentary is fantastic. I already kind of talked about this on the Nerdcore podcast with Brad because he was able to watch this one. But I loved this movie. I think that it was fantastic to really see how the indigenous tribe that is featured in this film, and how they really get the idea of evolving from where they are until the end of the film, and they really find out how to use technology for their use, so that way they can document what is being lost in their culture, in their language, and really the idea of fighting for what's important. And to them, it's that area in the rainforest, in the Amazon rainforest, and making sure that you know, their people are not being slaughtered and their land is not being burned down to the ground. But it's a wonderful documentary, well shot, beautifully made. It's one that you definitely want to keep an eye out. It was executive produced by Darren Aronofsky as well, and also produced by the people of the indigenous tribe that we're looking at in the film. And yeah, that's my number 9, The Territory. It's a wonderful film. I do recommend it from coming out of Sundance Film Festival. My number 8 is a beautiful coming-of-age film from Finland, directed by Ali Hapsala, and it's called Girl Picture. I love this movie. This movie is not just beautifully shot, but it's beautifully characterized, written. It has a wonderful soundtrack and just this beautiful story of these 3 girls who have basically 3 Sundays to figure out what they want to do for the next couple of days and next couple of years coming up, and how they're going to, you know, maneuver heartbreak and relationships and find out what is it that they truly want to do with their lives. I think that Ali Hapsala created a wonderful film that really encapsulates the beauty of growing up, but also femininity, and just this beautifully crafted film about friendship and love. And I love this movie. Girl Picture is definitely one of those films that you want to keep an eye out, and it's beautifully done. I mean, it's one of my favorites from the festival, and it was one that I truly gravitated towards. But of course, that is my number 8, Girl Picture. My number 7 is a film that really shook me to my core. This is the film that won the Golden Lion, which was part of the spotlight presentation of the Sundance Film Festival. It's directed by Audrey Diwan, and that is Happening. It's a film that looks like a young woman who is trying to find access to an abortion in her country, where, you know, abortion is pretty much not allowed at all. And the film is tense. It's very tense, and it builds up that tension really well throughout its runtime. And when we finally get to those last moments of the film where, you know, we see our climax, it really stays with you. The performances by our actresses in here are fantastic too, especially our main actress. Her name is Anna Maria Vartolomei, who does an incredible job depicting not just that nervous attitude and just the fear, but also the drive and necessity to find proper reproductive health in her country. It's an incredible film, and I'm not surprised that this won the Golden Lion. It truly deserved it at the Venice Film Festival, and I'm glad that I was able to watch this one. That's my number 7, Happening, by Audrey Diwan. My number 6 is the film that took the top prize at the Sundance Film Festival. It's a film that I was surprised at. I found its visuals striking. I found its score really well made. I found the atmosphere of this horror film to be really magnetic. That is Nanny from Nikyatu Yasu. I found this film about a Senegalese woman who is starting to see a little bit of odd things in the home that she's taking care of this child in for this family. And the film finds a way easily at the beginning in the first 30 minutes to really get under your skin and really find that creepiness to it. And I love that. And I love the striking visuals provided by the cinematography done on this film. And I think that this is definitely one of the best films from Sundance, but it rightfully deserves that top prize because this film really kind of lays it all out there for you, and it's just magnificently done, magnificently crafted, and I cannot believe that this is a directorial debut from Yasu. This feels like a 3rd or a 4th film in her filmography, but this is a directorial debut, and it shows that there is a lot of promise in her career. So that was my number 6, my Nanny, which is just fantastic. I hope you all check this out when you get the chance to, because it is fantastic. My number 5 is a Chilean film, which is also another directorial debut. This was part of the World Cinema Dramatic Competition, and that is the Cow Who Sang a Song into the Future, directed by Francisca Alegria. And this movie is thought-provoking. I mean, its premise just overall, you know, this family lost their mom to suicide. The mom comes back from the dead, from another dimension, and comes to not haunt the family, but kind of move this conversation in the family about, you know, gender norms and sexuality, but also about the climate change that's happening in their farm and in the world, and how it's affecting their farm. This film is very, very moving, and I can't believe it's another directorial debut. Alegria crafts this movie with so much promise and so much competency. There's so much going on here, but Alegria finds the way to weave everything together to create this wonderful narrative. And I found myself just so astonished and so amazed by the film, and I found it to be shot amazingly. I love the score as well, and that's why it's in my top 5 of Sundance Film Festival this year. That is The Cow Who Sang a Song into the Future, and that is my number 5 from the festival. My number 4 is one of my favorite movies of this festival, and specifically has my favorite performance from this festival. That is, of course, 892, directed by Abi Damaris Corbin. It features John Boyega in his best role yet. The film stars John Boyega as a veteran with mental issues who decides to, at first, rob a bank to make sure that he gets the attention of the DA, or not the DA, to get the attention of the VA, because they owe him specifically $8.92. And John Boyega's character keeps being ignored by the VA. And throughout this film, we build the tension to the point where it crescendos through the roof, and it's an incredible film. The late Michael K. Williams stars in this film in his final role, which he does fantastic in, but also props has to be given not just to them two, but also Nicole Beharie and Salinas Leiva, who do an incredible job as well on this film. This film is beautifully acted. I mean, there was never a moment that I couldn't stop watching what was going on, and it's one of the best coming out of Sundance Film Festival, for sure. It's a movie that lays it literally all out for you, and fires on every single cylinder and does a great job. And that's why it ended up at my number 4 at this festival. My number 3 is a music documentary that looks at the life of a promoter who at first was working with Hugo, who is an indie artist, and then, you know, things go down and Google stops, you know, touring for a while, so she's left to really figure out where her career goes next, and she is met by another wonderful artist who really helps her find herself, but also find the idea of confronting culture, of class divide and citizenship. That is Mija, directed by Isabel Castro. An incredible film just looking at the Latino community, but also the feeling of being undocumented in a country that prosecutes those without documentation, and really how it feels within the family and the family dynamics. I found this documentary to be incredibly well done. It's one of my favorites. There's a certain scene that just really struck me to my core and really kind of left me in awe in how they were able to just simply shoot that and be able to get that raw emotion. And this documentary is really, really well made, and it really lays it out when it needs to lay it out, but it also really brings up important discussions when it needs to. And that's why I think it's one of the best films coming out of Sundance Film Festival. That is my number 3, Mija, directed by Isabel Castro. My number 2 is the newest film from Kogonada. My number 2 is the newest film from Kogonada, which is actually releasing this in March. and that is, of course, After Yang. After Yang was the film that was being shown at the Spotlight section of the festival, but also had before made its debut at Cannes Film Festival. This is the second film from the director of Columbus, which I have not seen yet, but this one we're really kind of diving deep into this subject matter now that Kogonada seems to be apparently dissecting throughout the rest of his filmography. And this one we're looking at a family. We're looking at a family that has their son Yang. Yang is a techno sapien, I believe was the way that we talked about them in the film, who is, you know, apparently conscious, but one day Yang stops working, and his father, played by Colin Farrell, needs to find a way to fix him. But also during this journey, he really studies what Yang was doing at the time as part of his family and before, and we enter a incredible film, not just about family, but an existential movie about what it means to be alive, what it means to feel, what it means to have emotions, and what it really means to be a part of a world where you really don't belong because you're a robot and you're surrounded by humans. But the film does it so well, and this is a masterful film from Kogonada. Its production design is exquisite, its score is beautiful, its acting is absolutely fantastic, and this is the first 5-star that I gave this year. So early in the year, but this is my first 5-star, and also I have another 5-star, but this is my first one from that night that I watched After Yang, and I was floored, and I was just amazed at the filmmaking of Kogonada, but also the beautiful, striking visuals of Kogonada's film After Yang, but also the way that he was able to weave everything together so beautifully and tie a bow on it, so that way we can, you know, feel connected to the story of Yang. And I found the film to be masterful, and I'm really, really excited to watch it again in March when it gets released by A24. That is my number 2, After Yang from Kogonada. My number 1, my favorite film from Sundance Film Festival, is actually a movie that took the directing award, and this is an experimental documentary that looks at the life of a disabled filmmaker who pretty much documents his day-to-day life as a disabled person in I believe Oakland is where he lives. And this is I Didn't See You There, directed by Reed Davenport. This film struck a chord with me that is really difficult to strike because, you know, representation within the disabled community isn't the best. It's not something you see a lot, but it wasn't even just that representation. It was the way that Reed Davenport is able to bring up everything he's talking about and find a way to connect to the viewer so well and bring up these conversations without needing to give you a beautiful picture. Because the camera in this film isn't beautifully, the photography isn't beautifully shot. It's experimental. I mean, he's moving around so much. Pretty much most of the shots you're gonna see are of roads and buses and people that he's getting to know. And I think that is just so effective. And Reed Davenport makes this film his and truly encapsulates one of the many experiences of disabled people, especially artists who are disabled, and how they are able to not just maneuver the world of art, but the outside world who sees them as, you know, as pity images or as in the way. And the film is masterful, and it's just done so well. It's a movie that, to me, I haven't seen anything like it in a really long time, and I was able to connect with it so well, and that's why it's my favorite movie from the festival. It's also my second 5-star and my current favorite movie of 2022, and I found this movie just to be fantastic. It's crazy that something like this can exist and being done by somebody with such competency when it comes to the language of cinema, but also the language of his own narrative. And that's why I Didn't See You There is my favorite film. The film is directed, my favorite film from Sundance Film Festival, and the film is directed by Reed Davenport, who of course won the directing award at Sundance Film Festival. Of course, that's been my top 10 of Sundance, and I want to hear what you guys saw and what you guys think. Are there any movies on this list that you guys are looking forward to? Of course, you can keep up to date with all my coverage of Sundance Film Festival by checking out the nerdcore.com and checking out my written reviews there. On the Nerdcore podcast feed, we reviewed 4 other movies. We reviewed The Territory, Watcher, and My OK, and I went a little more in depth on what I loved about After Yang with Luis, and I also talked a little bit with Brad about The Territory. And there's a lot more stuff coming on. I'm gonna be doing another video discussing some of the docs at Sundance Film Festival on a video for Nerdcore. But just keep up to date with all that stuff by going to the nerdcore.com, youtube.com/nerdcore, twitch.tv/nerdcore, and in the podcast feed on anchor.fm/nerdcore. Stay connected with me on social media by going to the Twitter and Instagram at the Nerdy Chicano, and on twitch.tv/nerdychicano, and on Letterboxd and serialized under the Nerdy Chicano as well. Make sure you leave a like and you subscribe to this channel, and you go ahead and click that notification bell, so that way you can get notified every time new videos come out. And of course, I thank you all so much for sticking here with me while I talk about these 10 films that I really love from this festival, and I'm so grateful to the Sundance Institute for letting me cover the festival. And of course, my renowned cinephiles and scholars, celebrate the love of cinema today, tomorrow, and every day after. I'll see you guys on the next one. See you guys.